Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode. I'm glad to have you guys back, by the way. Really am glad to have you here. Today's episode is going to be a fun one. It is the basic reason I started the channel, which is affordable scatter terrain and ideas for affordable, easy scatter terrain. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys think. I'm hoping that a few of you will comment down below on your thoughts on this, if this is something you think you would like to do, if you think this would prove useful in one of your games. So I gave myself a challenge. I said, I'm going to build stuff from the dollar store. I'm going to use things from the dollar store, and I'm going to make scatter terrain that I could use in things like a basement, a warehouse, down at the cargo docks, in an attic, in the back alleys, things that would make sense. You would see them there and they'd make, you go, oh, yep, that flushes out this environment more. And I set some parameters for the challenge. My parameters for the challenge were simple. I can't use anything that was over $1.50 because, inflation, times are weird. A dollar store item is now like $1.35 to $1.50 after tax. And while I say dollar store, some of the items I got were on clearance at like Michael's, or in this case, if they're still around by the time you watch this video, Joann Fabrics. And all these items that you'll see me use, I either got there at the dollar store or on clearance at one of those two stores. So, without any further ado, because I know listening to me yet ramble is annoying, some of the things you're going to want for this video, if you're going to do these things, if you're going to go out and find these things, you're going to want to get yourself some crafting twine, get yourself some glue, tacky glue, or PVA Elmer's glue, and you're going to want to get yourself some paint. You're going to want to get some suede paint, craft paint, some brown craft paint, a little bit of chalkboard paint, and some fog gray paint for dry brushing, and tissue papers. So let's get into it, shall we? So kicking things off, folks, I'm going to start with the thing that inspired me the most, was these little yarn spools that I found. They were just hanging there, and I saw them, and the first thing I thought was, I need to make barrels out of these. They're just about the right height compared to like a human-sized, medium-sized miniature, if we're using like proper 5e D&D terms here. I'm like, perfect height, so we're going to make barrels out of them. The only problem is that they had these holes in them. And as you can see here, I'm just going to use XPF foam as one of my tricks to fill this up. Why am I going to use two different tricks to fill the holes? Because this is easy to some people. I thought about this for a moment. I'm like, what if somebody doesn't have XPS foam? This would not be good for them. And you don't have to use XPS foam. If you have, say, packing styrofoam, I don't recommend it as much, but you can use it here with the same technique of filling one end, then taking some glue to the other end that you hadn't filled, just filling the inside with a bunch of glue like it was a donut and you were filling it up with cream pastry. Is it pastry? No, it'd be like cream filling. That being said, anyway, so you just fill it up really good and cap it off here for that one, and then shove foam into the other end. And just stuff it down as good as you can, and just wait for the glue to dry on the inside. It doesn't take long either if you're using something like tacky glue or PVA glue. You can even use hot glue if you really want to. Now that I think about it, you could take hot glue and do this process and have a third way of doing it. Just fill it with hot glue. Don't have butterfingers like me, folks. Anyway, here's what it should kind of look like with the XPS foam. You just want to shove it in there and kind of get it as level as you can. They're so tiny that honestly, try not to go perfection hound on yourself. If you do with the XPS foam or any kind of foam thing, it'll drive you nuts. That being said, once you're done, if you have a little gap like this, right, and you really don't want that little gap, just take a little bit of glue like I'm going to. Just smoosh the little bit of glue in there as you can, and then wipe the excess away with your finger. It'll level it off. It'll look really good, and when it's done drying, you'll have a nice little flat surface. I find that barrels are actually something that, despite like, I'm going for anything in this one that could work in a basement, a back alley, cargo, like on the docks, on a ship, in the cargo hold of a ship, in the attic of Death House if you're playing Curse of Strahd, just stuff that would work there. But barrels? You could use them anywhere. So here is the bamboo skewer trick, like I said. Get the bamboo skewer from the dollar store. You'll be surprised that they actually slide into the yarn spool's hole very, very snugly. That to me is just the best part, that it fits in so smug. It's an arrogant bamboo stick now. So snugly that I didn't actually end up needing glue like I thought I was going to. I thought I would have to put just a little bit of glue on the bamboo skewers when I slid them in. But once I did, they were so snug in there that I realized they weren't going to move unless I sat there with like a pin or something and deliberately tried to pop them out. And that was great. That was just a massive time saver. You didn't even have to wait the 20 minutes for the glue to dry. You could just snip them down as you needed them. If you could get them perfectly flush, awesome. If not, grab some sandpaper and just give a couple swipes until the bamboo skewer is kind of sanded down to about level with the skewer, or the spool there. Once that was done, man, I was like, holy crap, I can make a dozen of these in like 15-20 minutes. That's counting the paint drying. Oh man, it was so cool. I was so stoked making these guys. I honestly, if you could, leave a comment down below if you've ever found a crafting project or had something you saw at like a craft store or the dollar store that made you go, holy crap, I need to do this. This is so simple. I can't believe I haven't done this yet. Just let me know in the comments, because this was that moment for me, was these guys. Once everything had dried, as you can see here with the XPS foam one, I just hit it with some really watered down brown paint. I wanted the wood grain to still show through on most of the parts that I was going to do for wood. So I just hit it with that watered down part. On the tops and bottoms, what I recommend is not doing the watered down so much. Do like a single drop of really normal unwatered down brown paint on the XPS foam. The XPS foam is pink, so it's going to soak up that brown paint and then it'll blend in after that. But after that, just grab a little bit of water on the paint brush, mix it in with your paint, and then just hit that spool with it and give it a nice brown color. And then after that, we're going to paint the bands. Now, some of you might be going, but man, why do you always use brown on wood? And again, I've said this before in past videos. It's just a pop culture thing. We expect wood to be brown, so I go with a brown. If you want to make this look really cool, you can take like a golden brown and then use like an espresso brown or a umber brown and mix them together and get a really nice one. But otherwise, once you've got them painted brown, move on to this step. Now here is the fun part. I'm going to use chalkboard paint here to indicate the metal bands that hold barrels together. Hold up my history, friends. I know what you're going to say, but medieval times, they just used wood as a band. There wasn't actually cast iron or steel or anything used. You're 100% correct. However, we're in high fantasy-esque settings. Pop culture has made us believe that there should be metal bands around them. And these spools stick out just enough that that's the first thing you're going to think is, man, I need a band around this. So instead of just painting it brown or a different color brown, go with a chalkboard paint. And some of you are going to say, wait, why don't we just use like steel mini model paint and like a little bit of black wash mixed in to give it that look? Totally can. I love the look of chalkboard paint to indicate that blackened steel, that cast iron look. It just, I don't know what it is. It has like a little texture to it that the light catches. Just utterly reminds me of it. And it's not like a black shine. I know what you're thinking. It's metal. It should be heavily shiny, but that's okay. In this case, it doesn't shine like heavily like a metal light reflecting. It will shine, but it'll be a dull shine like a chalkboard has, which on the miniature will look fantastic. Again, if you don't like this method, I just don't want to do chalkboard paint. Don't do the like silver paint with some black wash mixed in it. You'll get a black, shiny, metallic look to it if that's what you're after. However, I really just, like I said, love the look of that chalkboard paint. Just crisp and clean. Okay, now these guys, you can find these at the dollar store really cheap. Obviously, it's a dollar store. But they're wooden blocks. And honestly, first thing that came to my mind was wooden crates. probably the first thing that comes to everybody's mind when they see these. Now, I'm just going to take some brown paint here and just paint some lines on it. If you've ever wondered, like, where this idea came from, I saw this, like, painting the stripes on, came from Wylock's Armory, believe it or not. My original plan was I was going to cut little itty bitty strips of foam, texture them, glue them on after I'd painted them everything to give it like this raised bump, and man, that was just way too much work. So perusing the YouTube, as you know we do sometimes when we're looking for inspiration, I came across Wylock's Armory's video on this and was like, man, it looked so crisp and clean too. And honestly, once you're done, it does look crisp and clean. You don't need a raised bump edge here. It looks like cargo box, and that's great. Now, there are several ways you can do a cargo box here. You could do it with an X stripe on it and then the little blocked in boards. You could do a single line like I'm doing. You could do that on all 6 sides of the squared little cube, or you could do it on only 4 of the 6 sides of the squared little cube. It's really up to you on how this should look. I went with the stripes on all 6 sides. I just said, let's just make it easy on ourselves. We're going to do all 6 sides so that I can just basically roll them on a table and have them ready to go. Plus, it's nice that they're made of wood. It's kind of hard to damage these guys. The only downfall to it being made of wood is, of course, it soaks up the paint, so you're going to want to do like several passes with your brush, as I had to get your things on there. And sometimes the wood will soak it up and it'll cause the lines to have like a little wave in them. Don't worry about it. Let's be fair. It's adding to the illusion, so let's not be nitpicky. Now you might be wondering what's going on here. We are going to make cloth/tarp covered cargo, or boxes and crates and stuff like that. You know, like in the movies where you go into the attics and they've got the like furniture and stuff covered with tarps, or they're like in the bases on military movies and they've got like the ammo crates covered with a tarp and stuff like that. We're gonna do that right now. So just take, as you saw there, some PVA glue and some suede colored paint. Then grab a bunch of blocks and these little yarn spools that we grabbed. And there's no need to paint them or prep them. Just grab some super glue and glue them together. If you're wondering where I got this crazy glue, that's right, I got this from the dollar store even. Like I said, everything here, including the craft paints, were purchased at the dollar store. Or Michael's or another craft store on the clearance bins for $1 or less. Now just trying my best here to arrange them. If you do this, arrange them however it comes to your mind, right? You are just going to look at it and you're going to go, I think this looks good. That's all I did here. Also, maybe give your super glue a little bit of time to dry. I did get a little, like 30 seconds was not a long enough time, and I had to shoot this like twice because I kept grabbing one like 5 seconds after putting the glue and sliding it to the side. Can't do that. Gotta let it dry. Trust me, gotta let it dry. It's super glue, it's quick, it's fast. Only impatient people like me had a problem with this. Trust me. So as you can see, I'm just arranging these guys. Like here, you see, it's a little trick there. Just come on, let's balance. There we go, it's balanced. All right. Anyway, whoo! Silly me. Once you've got them set there, just let them set with the glue for like 1 minute. Just literally 1 minute. Walk to the fridge, grab a pop, grab a bottle of water, grab a piece of cheese, string cheese, make a bologna sandwich, walk back, you'll be ready for the next part. It's because it's super glue. Now, ahead of time, I took one of the pre-painted ones I did for this one, because I'm going to do a tarp over this one, as you can see, where everything else will be covered, but this one crate will be visible. Why am I doing that? I don't know. I just think it looks cool. I like that idea of there being like a cargo crate there that you can see that there's wooden crates or something is under this tarp. I think it looks cool. And honestly, it always adds to ambiance to know what's up. Now just taking some simple tissue paper that has no like decorations or quilting onto it. you're going to cover it with the PVA paint mixture here. And you're just going to try and stick it onto your stuff. There are like 3 ways of doing this, and I think I demonstrate them in this pretty well. The first one is the one I'm doing now, where you just lay it down, hold your hands, and then take your brush and put it all over the top of it and just let the mixture soak into it, and then it will cling to the items. This works well, but your hands are going to get covered with, well, the mixture of paint and glue. There's nothing you can do about it. It's going to happen. But it will look really good, and you can take your brush and smoosh up against the edges where you feel like the tarp should lay flatter, and you can use your fingers to kind of gently, you don't want to pull, but gently kind of lift so that there'd be some gaps and waves in it. The second way to do it, first thing I always like to, you're going to notice I always like to cover and make sure I'm ready, is to take this and I kind of like cover it and then flip it around and stick the mixture right to the crates and then go back over top of it with another mixture of the paint and the glue. And this is kind of like a heavy-handed approach. It works surprisingly well. Just like the other way works surprisingly well. It's just a matter of like, if you do it this way, you have to be careful that you don't rip the tissue paper, because if you rip it, you're going to have to repair it. And it's a really easy repair. You'll just take another piece of tissue, rip it just slightly bigger than the tear, and gently tap it onto that area, and it'll like cling to it. And you won't notice in the finished product that little ripple will just look like a ripple that naturally occurs. But remember, cover your whole thing with this paint mixture. You don't want any parts of the tarp to be white. You want it all to be suede. It'll look really good too, trust me. Especially once it's all dried, and it only takes like 15 minutes to dry. These dry really fast. We're going to hit it with a dry brush later. That dry brush is going to be with the light fog gray. It's going to pop. The whole thing is going to look awesome. Now that last style, as I said, that applies just putting the suede all over the blocks. The suede glue mixture all over the blocks. And then tapping the tissue paper onto it. And then painting over the tissue paper again. As you can see, I'm just like gluing the shit out of this. I don't want it to move, budge. When it's said and done, I want that to feel like rubber more than paper. And, you know, that happens when you just give it like 15, 20 minutes to dry. If you have a fan or a blow dryer, I know that sounds crazy, but if you have either of those, turn them on. Like the blow dryer, obviously you're going to have to sit there and hold it and wave it back and forth. But if you have a fan, just turn it on and walk away. It'll help increase the drying speed here. Now, if you don't have a crafting mat like this, you could take like one of these little things like I ripped off the spool package here. And you could put these things on top of that or parchment paper so they don't stick. I know it said 15, 20 minutes. If you're worried though about them sticking, come back every 3 minutes with like your paintbrush or something and move them around. Now, let's make some bags of loot, trash, or garbage, whatever you need when you just need some sacks of stuff. Baubles, those little glass gems as you've seen from the dollar store, and tissue paper. We're just going to wrap them around it, take a bit of craft twine, loop it around a couple times and tie it nice and tight like a rope on a sack would be. And then we're going to just cover it in the suede glue mixture. In this case, I dunked it into the mixture, waited for the dunk part to dry, and then finished brushing it on. Afterwards, I cut off the excess string and the excess little bit of tooth that pops up there on top of the bail there from the tissue paper. Because you want it a little bit closer down toward the rope like a real one would be. Alright guys, so we're going to do a quick dry brush here with that fog gray on the canvases and the bags. Gotta apologize that the camera ratio here changed, guys. I was trying a top-down angle. I probably should have made sure that this was recording the proper way when I did that. But hey,
this is one of those moments I get a learning curve. So if this annoyed you, please let me know in the comments. Or if it's okay, let me know in the comments. I'm going to try in the future to make sure these top-down angles are a proper ratio for you guys. But like I said, we're just going to dry brush this to finish up the look of the tarp canvases and bags. When these dry, you could add a black wash and seal them, but I felt like they didn't need either, and I just let them be.
Alright guys, it's the end of the video. I'm glad you guys stuck around. Thank you so much for doing that. I know this is a broken record thing from every YouTube person out there, but if you really did like this video, can you give me a like, a share, and a subscribe? It'd really help me out. It helps me grow the channel, and it helps me keep providing nifty ideas for everybody and showing everyone what I've been working on. So, again, I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I honestly think one of the funnest things here was just doing the craft, just this. It was really fun. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions for me, drop them down in the comments below. You can also email me at ninjabunnycrafting. And if you really want to keep this channel going and you'd like to see us improve, get better quality, camera shoots, maybe get some tripods that'll let us shoot from different angles, you can join us now on Patreon. That's right, Ninja Bunny Crafting Patreon is up and running. Hopefully it'll be worth your while. Get you access to our Discord. In the Discord, you'll get a weekly live chat from me. I recommend going with the lowest tier for that one, and then the higher tiers are going to get better things, but I'm still new at this. So again, thank you guys. Remember, I really do appreciate you tuning in, watching my silly little crafts, and hopefully I can inspire. Please, guys, get out there and craft something awesome.